Her ex made her kneel at his club, then the new crime boss walked out and said, "She's my wife." Daniel Chen believed his ex-wife would come crawling back the moment her mother's surgery bill came due. So when he found Lena alone in the underground club he now controlled, he ordered her to kneel and beg. Then a private door opened behind her. The one man Daniel had spent months trying to impress stepped into the hallway, put a hand at Lena's back, and said 5 words that erased the smile from Daniel's face. At 2:13 in the morning, the basement hallway of the gold room smelled like spilled whiskey, cold metal, and rain. Lena Lynn stood with her back against a steel service door while 2 men in black suits blocked the corridor. Neither had touched her hard enough to leave a mark. They did not need to. The message was in where they stood. One at the stairs. One at the exit. No way around either of them without making a scene. The neon strip over the ceiling buzzed pink, then blue, then pink again. Music from the main floor traveled through the walls as a dull pulse. Somewhere beyond the corner, people laughed over glasses that cost more than Lena's weekly grocery bill. She tightened her fingers around the canvas tote hanging from her shoulder. Inside were her mother's cardiology records, an insurance denial letter, 2 bottles of medication, and a folded estimate from St. and Medical Center. $38,000 due before surgery. Not the total bill. Just the amount required to keep the procedure on Monday's schedule while the hospital fought with the insurer over the rest. Lena had spent the afternoon calling everyone she could call without telling the one person who would have paid it before she finished the sentence. That was why she was here. And why she had not told Adrian. A familiar voice drifted through the smoke at the end of the hall. "Where's your husband?" Lena closed her eyes. For 1 second, she wished she were surprised. Then she opened them. Daniel Chen sat in the center booth with one ankle over his knee, a whiskey glass turning between his fingers. He looked almost exactly as he had when they were married. Same expensive haircut. Same charcoal shirts tailored too closely through the shoulders. Same watch he once told her cost less than it really did. Same smile that always seemed warm until you understood it had been designed to make the other person feel smaller. Around him sat 3 men Lena recognized from photographs attached to the civil case. Club managers. Security contractors. People who had made careers out of being close to whoever controlled the river district. 6 months earlier that person had been Mason Red. Now it was Adrian Shaw. Daniel had spent those 6 months trying desperately to convince everyone he had been loyal to the new order all along. He did not know Adrian was Lena's husband. Almost no one did. Daniel raised his glass. "I asked you a question." Lena looked at the man blocking the corridor. Then at Daniel. "I came to see Raymond Alvarez." Daniel smiled. "Your mother's cousin." "Yes." "Does he know you're here?" "He texted me." "Interesting." Lena said nothing. Daniel leaned forward. "He works accounting for a club owned by people who report to people who report to me." That was mostly false. Daniel supervised beverage vendors and 2 event contracts. But men like Daniel could build an entire identity out of the distance between works near power and has power. He took a sip. "I hear your mother is sick." Lena's spine stiffened. "So this is what we're doing?" "What?" "Using my mother's surgery for entertainment." Daniel gave a small shrug. "I always told you pride was expensive." The words pulled something old from her memory. A kitchen. A stack of unpaid vendor invoices. Daniel standing by the refrigerator saying, "If you had listened to me sooner, your family wouldn't be in this mess." At the time, Lena believed he was frustrated. Later she discovered he had helped create the mess. He lifted one hand. The man nearest the stairs moved aside just enough to make the humiliation feel voluntary. Daniel smiled. "You need money." "I have money." I didn't come for yours. Of course not. His friends laughed. Lena held his gaze. Daniel's smile widened. That's always been your problem. Even when you're losing, you want to look like you're choosing it. I did choose the divorce. The laughter stopped. Daniel's eyes cooled. After I told you to leave. You told me the marriage was over. I signed the papers before your attorney finished his first draft. You were angry. I was done. He stood. The booth went quiet around him. Daniel walked toward her with his drink. I heard you remarried. Lena's pulse changed. Not because he knew. Because he thought he knew. A rumor. Nothing more. She and Adrian had married at City Hall 6 months earlier with her mother, his sister, and 2 attorneys as witnesses. No photographs online. No announcement. No press release. No new last name. Adrian had asked once whether she wanted anyone told. Lena said no. He never asked again. Daniel stopped a few feet away. Where is he? Lena almost smiled. Why? I'm curious what kind of man marries you after what happened. What happened? You know. No. Say it. Daniel's mouth tightened. The men around him shifted. Lena continued. Say what happened, Daniel. His voice dropped. Your family business collapsed. Your father died owing money to half the city. Your mother got sick. You lost the house. You had nothing. Except the evidence you stole our contracts. He laughed. There she is. You sold vendor pricing, client lists, and shipping schedules to Mason Red's company. Allegedly. You signed an affidavit denying you had access. I didn't. Lena looked at his cuff. You wore my father's warehouse key for 2 years. Daniel's hand moved instinctively toward his pocket. The reflex was small. She noticed. She noticed everything now. Daniel came closer. You know what your problem is? I've heard several versions. You think surviving something means you won. No. Lena adjusted the toad on her shoulder. I think leaving you meant I stopped losing. Daniel's face changed. His hand closed around her wrist. Not hard. Not yet. Careful. Lena looked down at his fingers. Then up at him. Let go. One of the men behind him laughed nervously. Daniel held on. I heard you came here begging Raymond for money. I came to collect money Raymond already owed my mother. Daniel blinked. That he had not expected. Lena continued. $21,000 from a private loan she made his restaurant 10 years ago. He called me because he's selling his share of a property and wants to repay it. Daniel's expression tightened. So you still need 17. That's none of your business. Everything about you used to be my business. Used to. He released her wrist. Then he lifted his glass. Fine. He gestured to the floor. Kneel. For 1 second, Lena thought she had misheard him. Daniel smiled. Kneel and ask nicely. Maybe I'll cover the rest. The men in the booth went silent. Even they seemed uncomfortable. Lena stared at him. He mistook stillness for shock. You always hated asking me for anything. Because you kept receipts. People should be grateful when they're helped. There it is. What? The reason I left. Daniel's jaw tightened. Lena continued. You never gave anything. You made investments in obedience. His face flushed. Don't make this dramatic. You're asking your ex-wife to kneel on a nightclub floor for her mother's surgery money. And yet you're still standing here. The humiliation was intentional. Not because Daniel believed she would do it. Because he needed witnesses. He needed a story he could tell later. Lena came back. Lena begged. Lena needed him. He could survive the divorce if he could turn it into temporary rebellion. Lena looked toward the service door behind her. Adrian had told her to wait in the car. He had a meeting downstairs with the attorneys handling the club group's restructuring. She had received Raymond's message while Adrian went inside. "Raymond, I'm in Gold Room Accounting. Come down. I have the cashier's check and the signed loan acknowledgement." Lena had made it halfway to the accounting office before Daniel's men stopped her. She could shout. She could call Adrian. She did neither. She was tired of men appearing whenever her life became difficult and deciding the scene now belonged to them. Daniel spread one hand. "Well?" Lena said, "No." He laughed. "Then go tell the hospital pride matters more than your mother's heart." The service door behind Lena opened. A voice came from the darkness. "I wouldn't recommend that." Daniel stopped. Every man in the hallway turned. Adrian Shaw stepped into the neon light wearing a black wool coat over a white shirt with the collar open. There was no visible weapon. No entourage. He did not need either. The River District had changed hands 3 months after Mason Red's federal indictment, and Adrian had become the public face of the consortium that bought the clubs, warehouses, private security contracts, and waterfront properties Red's organization once controlled. People called him a businessman in newspapers. They used other words after midnight. Adrian ignored Daniel. He looked at Lena. First at her face. Then her wrist. Then the canvas bag. His expression barely moved. That was how Lena knew he was angry. He walked to her. "Didn't I ask you to wait in the car?" His voice was soft. Lena lifted her chin. Raymond texted. "I see. I was handling it. I also see that." He reached up and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was ordinary. Private. Too familiar to misunderstand. Daniel's face lost color. Adrian's hand lowered to the small of Lena's back. Not pushing. Not claiming. Just there. Daniel stared. "Mr. Shaw." Adrian finally looked at him. "Daniel." The use of his first name sounded worse than a threat. Daniel swallowed. "I didn't know you were in the building." "I own the building." "Right." Adrian glanced toward the security men. "Why are the exits blocked?" Nobody answered. Daniel recovered enough to smile. "This is a misunderstanding." Lena looked at him. Adrian did not. He asked Lena, "Do you want to leave?" That question changed the room more than anything else. Not "What did he do?" Not "Who do I punish?" "Do you want to leave?" Lena breathed. "Not yet." Adrian nodded. "All right." Daniel looked between them. Then his eyes narrowed. "You two know each other." Adrian's mouth almost moved. Lena answered. "Yes." Daniel's gaze dropped to Adrian's hand at her back. Something clicked. The rumor. The hidden remarriage. The woman Daniel believed had nothing. He took one step backward. No. Lena felt no triumph. Only exhaustion. Daniel looked at Adrian. "You're her husband?" Adrian said, "I am." The whiskey glass slipped in Daniel's hand and struck the marble table. It did not break. A dark line of liquor spilled across his cuff. For months, Daniel had tried to get invitations to Adrian's private dinners. He sent gifts. He offered club contacts. He told anyone listening that he had known Mason Red's operations well enough to be useful during the transition. Adrian had never returned a personal call. Now he stood beside the woman Daniel discarded and called himself her husband. Daniel's voice dropped. "How long?" Lena said, 6 months. His head snapped toward her. 6 months? Yes. You married him before our settlement hearing. After our divorce was final. You hid it. Lena almost laughed. From you? From everyone. That was my choice. Daniel looked at Adrian. You were okay with that? Adrian's expression cooled. It wasn't mine to be okay with. The sentence confused Daniel. He had never understood relationships where one person did not automatically negotiate ownership. Daniel pointed toward Lena. Do you know why she's here? Adrian looked at her. Do you want me to know? Lena met his eyes. Mom's surgery deposit is short. His jaw tightened. How short? 17,000 after Raymond's repayment. You told me insurance was handling it. I thought they were. When did you find out? This morning. And you didn't call me? No. Adrian was quiet. The men in the hallway watched, expecting anger. Lena knew what they expected next. A wealthy husband offended that his wife asked someone else for money. Adrian exhaled. Are you asking me now? Lena looked at him. Not yet. He nodded once. Okay. Daniel laughed. Everyone turned. He seemed to hear himself too late. Sorry, he said. This is unbelievable. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Daniel gestured between them. She won't take money from her own husband? Lena answered. Not without talking about it. It's $17,000. It isn't the number. Daniel stared. He still did not understand. Adrian did. That was one reason she married him. Lena first met Adrian 11 months before the Gold Room hallway. Not in a nightclub. Not in some dramatic late-night rescue. In a conference room with fluorescent lights and terrible coffee. Lynn Hospitality Supply had already filed for bankruptcy protection. Lena's father had been dead for 6 weeks. Her marriage to Daniel existed only on paper because Daniel had moved into a furnished apartment downtown and communicated through attorneys whenever he wanted something documented. Mason Red's company had offered a settlement. $250,000. Enough to cover May's mortgage, some legal debt, and most of the medical bills from Lena's father's final hospitalization. The condition was simple. Lena had to sign a statement saying she had found no evidence that confidential vendor information left the Lynn company through improper access. Priya told her not to sign. Lena knew that. She also knew $250,000 could change her mother's life. The mediation lasted 9 hours. By hour 7, Lena had a migraine so bad she could see light around the edges of the room. Mason's attorney slid the statement toward her. You don't have to say nothing happened, he said. Only that you have no proof. Lena looked at the signature line. Technically true. At that moment, she had suspicion. Access logs with gaps. A missing warehouse drive. 3 vendor bids lost by margins so precise her father called it impossible. Daniel's sudden consulting income. No proof. Her pen hovered. Then the door opened. A man Lena did not recognize stepped in with 2 attorneys. Tall. Dark coat over one arm. Quiet in the way people became quiet when they knew they did not need to fill space. Mason's attorney stood. Mr. Shaw. Adrian nodded. Continue. Lena learned later that Adrian had been appointed by a creditor group reviewing several companies tied to Mason's district acquisitions. He was there because the settlement required approval from a lender that now wanted to know why Mason was paying a bankrupt supplier's daughter for silence. At the time, Lena only knew everyone else had become more careful. Mason's attorney said, "Ms. Lynn is considering a routine release." Adrian looked at the paper. Then at Lena. "Do you believe the statement?" The room went still. Mason's attorney laughed. "That is not the legal standard." Adrian did not look away from Lena. "I didn't ask about the legal standard." Lena's fingers tightened around the pen. "No." Her own voice surprised her. Adrian nodded. "Then don't sign it." Mason's attorney snapped, "She's represented." Priya said, "And I agree." Adrian pulled out a chair at the far end. "Good." That was all. He did not offer Lena money. He did not ask what happened. He sat through the remaining 2 hours while the settlement collapsed. Afterward, Lena found him by the elevator. "You cost me $250,000. Adrian pressed the call button. "You cost yourself $250,000. She stared. He glanced at her. "Do you regret it? Ask me when the mortgage is due." The elevator arrived. He held the door. Lena did not enter. "What do you want?" "Right now?" "From this case. The truth about why Mason's companies keep appearing around businesses before confidential information leaks." "That sounds expensive." "It is." "Why do you care?" Adrian's expression changed. "A shadow. My brother worked for one of those companies." Lena waited. "He died." The elevator doors began to close. Adrian stopped them with one hand. "Not because of your case. But connected?" "Maybe." That maybe became the first honest thing between them. They did not date for months. They worked near each other. Adrian's forensic team found anomalies. Priya requested records. Lena learned Adrian had a reputation in the River District because he once belonged to Mason's world closely enough to understand it and had spent years extracting himself without pretending he had always been clean. When he invited her to dinner the first time, Lena said no. She had been divorced for 37 days. He said, "Understood." No wounded pride. No persuasion. 4 months later, he asked whether she wanted coffee. Lena said maybe. He said, "That's not a yes." She laughed. "It means ask tomorrow." He did. Their first date lasted 53 minutes because May called about a leaking kitchen pipe. Adrian drove Lena home. He did not come inside. Their second date lasted 3 hours. Their first kiss happened in a parking garage after Lena spent 20 minutes explaining why she hated people opening car doors for her. Adrian listened. Then he asked, "May I kiss you?" She said yes. 6 months after they met, he proposed in his kitchen. No ring in food. No photographer. No kneeling crowd. He put a small box on the counter and said, "I love you. I want to marry you. You do not have to answer today." Lena stared at him. "How long do I have?" "As long as you need." That's a dangerous negotiating position. I am told marriage is not a negotiation. Who told you that? People with failed marriages. She laughed. Then cried. 16 days later, she said yes. At City Hall, May wore red because she said white was depressing. Adrian's sister brought grocery store flowers. Priya acted as witness and made everyone initial the correct lines twice. Afterward, Adrian asked, "Announcement?" Lena felt panic move through her body. Not happiness. Panic. She pictured headlines. Danielle hearing. Mason's people learning. Strangers reducing every case decision to which powerful man Lena belonged to now. No. Adrian nodded. Okay. You're not offended? Should I be? Most people announce marriages. We are married whether they know or not. That sentence gave her room to breathe. They agreed to tell close family. No business associates unless necessary. No photographs online. Lena kept her name. Adrian wore his ring on a chain when he worked in places where enemies might use family information. Lena kept hers in a drawer because some morning seeing it on her hand brought back the sensation of Daniel saying, "My wife does not need to work with people like that." Adrian never asked why. The first time Lena voluntarily wore the ring to dinner, he noticed. He said nothing. She loved him for that too. Secrecy was not shame. At first, it was recovery. Then it became safety. Only later would Lena realize that safety could become another form of hiding if she never chose when to step back into view. But on the night Daniel asked where her husband was, the secret still belonged to her. That was why Adrian did not reveal at first. He waited until Daniel asked. He waited until Lena looked at him. Only then did he answer. I am. 5 letters of identity. No claim of ownership. No speech. And for Lena, that difference was the entire marriage. Daniel's mouth twisted. So what? You married a richer man and suddenly you have principles? Adrian moved. Lena caught his sleeve. He stopped immediately. Daniel noticed that too. Lena said, "Don't." Adrian looked at her. I know. She released him. Then she turned to Daniel. I had principles when I married you. I just didn't know how often you were punishing me for them. Daniel's face hardened. This is ridiculous. You sold my family information. You can't prove that. Not yet. Adrian said quietly, actually, she can. Lena looked at him. Daniel went still. Adrian continued. The forensic review found mirrored login records from the warehouse system. Your account opened bid sheets at 1:14 a.m. on March 6 and transferred files to a device registered to a company you later claimed you had never worked for. Daniel's face emptied. Lena stared at Adrian. When were you going to tell me? When your attorney cleared disclosure. Adrian. Tomorrow morning. She held his gaze. He knew that tone. I should have told you the review advanced. Yes. I was trying not to interfere with the hospital situation. That isn't a reason. No. The apology was immediate. Not defensive. Daniel looked between them with disbelief. You apologized to her? Adrian turned. Frequently. One of the men near the booth looked down to hide a smile. Daniel noticed and snapped, Get out. Nobody moved. Adrian said, Stay. They stayed. That ended whatever illusion Daniel had left. The hallway belonged to someone else. Adrian looked at the head of security. Pull the camera footage from this corridor. Daniel's face tightened. Adrian continued. Preserve the original. No edits. Send it to counsel and the Independent Compliance Office. Daniel took a step forward. This was personal. No, Lena said. He looked at her. She pointed toward the 2 men who had blocked the exits. You used club security to detain a guest because you wanted to humiliate your ex-wife. I didn't detain you. Did I ask them to stand there? No. Did they let me leave? Daniel said nothing. Lena looked at Adrian. I want Raymond's check. Adrian nodded. I'll have him brought here. No. She shook her head. I'll go to accounting. Adrian stepped aside. Not leading. Not escorting. Making space. Lena walked past Daniel. At the corner, she stopped. She turned back. One more thing. Daniel's expression hardened. You said I wouldn't last 3 days without you. The hallway became quiet again. Lena looked at the man she had once believed knew her better than anyone. It's been 11 months. Then she walked away. Adrian stayed behind only long enough to give instructions. No threats. No broken bones. No men dragged through back doors. The version of Adrian people feared would have known how to do all of that. The man Lena married had spent 5 years trying to become someone who did not need to. He told security to preserve footage. He suspended Daniel's access pending review. He called the outside compliance attorney. Then he followed his wife to accounting. Lena was sitting across from Raymond Alvarez when Adrian entered. Raymond was 64, gray-haired, and visibly terrified. A cashier's check lay on the desk. $21,400. He stood. Mr. Shaw. Sit down, Raymond. Raymond sat. Lena looked at Adrian. He leaned against the wall. Not beside her. Across the room. Another choice. Raymond pushed the check forward. I should have paid your mother years ago. Yes, Lena said. I didn't have it. I know. I have it now. She picked up the check. There was also a notarized acknowledgement of the original loan and 12 years of modest interest. Lena read every line. Adrian waited. Raymond said, I heard Daniel stopped you. Lena looked up. Did you tell him I was coming? Raymond went pale. No. Who knew? My assistant. Security at the employee entrance. Adrian said, we'll trace it. Lena looked at him. Compliance will trace it. He corrected himself. Compliance will trace it. Raymond glanced between them. He had clearly heard the rumor too. He looked at Lena's left hand. No ring. She had stopped wearing one after Daniel because rings had once felt like public property labels. Adrian wore his on a chain under his shirt. Raymond wisely asked nothing. Lena signed the receipt. Then she stood. I need to get to the hospital. Adrian straightened. Cars upstairs. They left through the employee corridor. No one spoke until the elevator doors closed. Then Adrian said, I'm angry. Lena pressed the lobby button. At me? No. You're making the face. What face? The one where you look like the elevator personally betrayed you. He exhaled. I'm angry you thought you couldn't tell me. I didn't think I couldn't. You didn't. That's different. Is it? She looked at him. Yes. The elevator rose. Lena held the canvas tote against her chest. I needed to solve it. Why? Because it's my mother. I'm your husband. I know. Do you? The doors opened into the private parking level. Lena stepped out. Adrian followed. She turned. Don't do that. What? Turn this into whether I trust you. His jaw tightened. Then tell me what it is. She took a breath. Daniel used money like a leash. Adrian went still. She continued. If he paid a bill, I owed agreement. If he helped my parents, I owed silence. If he bought me something, I owed gratitude performed exactly the way he wanted. I know. You know the story. Fair. Lena looked toward the black sedan waiting near the elevator. The first time you offered to pay Mom's treatment, I couldn't breathe. Adrian's face changed. She had never told him that. I said no. You said you had it handled. I didn't. He looked down. Lena continued. You accepted the no. That's why I married you. His eyes lifted. But accepting the no doesn't mean you don't get to be hurt that I didn't tell you I was scared. She swallowed. I know. Adrian stepped closer. May I hug you? Lena's throat tightened. Yes. He held her. Not hard. Not possessive. Just enough. For the first time since the hospital called that morning, Lena let her shoulders drop. Adrian's voice was quiet near her hair. We can talk about the money when you want. Okay. And if you never want my money involved, we figure out another way. Okay. And I am still furious at Daniel. She laughed against his coat. I know. That part is not negotiable. It is if you do something stupid. I wasn't planning to. You looked like you were planning to. I was planning several elegant crimes. She pulled back. Adrian. I'm joking. You're bad at joking. I've been told. The car ride to St. Anne took 20 minutes. Lena's mother, Mei Lin, was awake when they arrived. She looked small beneath the hospital blanket. Smaller than Lena was prepared for. May's heart condition had worsened quickly over the previous 2 months. What began as shortness of breath became dizziness, then a collapse at the grocery store. The surgeon recommended repair before the next episode became irreversible. Insurance approved the procedure. Then denied one part of the specialized surgical team as out-of-network. Appeals were pending. The deposit deadline was not. May saw Adrian and immediately frowned. You told him. Lena put the canvas bag on the chair. He found out. May looked at Adrian. You gave her money. No. Good. Adrian blinked. Lena almost laughed. May pointed at him. She has issues. Mom. She does. I know, Adrian said. May nodded. Good answer. Lena sat beside the bed. I have Raymond's repayment. May's face softened. He paid? Everything plus interest. That fool. You lent him $21,000. He had 4 children. You had me. I had your father. Lena looked away. May touched her wrist. How much is left? 17. May looked at Adrian. Lena saw it. Mom. What? No. May sighed. I didn't say anything. You have eyebrows. Adrian sat in the chair near the window. I can leave. May waved him down. No. Stay. If she married you, you can survive family finances. Lena closed her eyes. Please stop. May smiled. For the first time all day, the room felt almost normal. They solved the money by morning. Not the way Daniel would have imagined. Adrian did not write a check. Lena called the hospital financial office with her attorney. Raymond's repayment covered most of the deposit. The remaining balance came from an emergency medical line of credit in Lena's name, with a rate her attorney negotiated through a community bank. Adrian offered to co-sign. Lena said no. He said okay. May's surgery stayed on schedule. That should have ended the crisis. Instead, the video leaked. By Saturday afternoon, a 37-second clip from the Gold Room hallway appeared online. Not the full recording. A phone video. It began after Adrian stepped out of the service room. It showed him touching Lena's hair. Daniel going pale. A voice asking, "You're her husband?" Adrian answering, "I am." The clip ended there. No forced kneeling. No blocked exits. No mention of the hospital. No evidence. Just a secret wife and a feared nightclub owner. The first headline appeared on a local gossip site. River District Kingpin's secret wife revealed in 2 a.m. showdown. The second was worse. New boss threatens ex-husband over mystery bride. By evening, Lena's face was on 3 blogs. An old wedding photograph of her and Daniel was reposted. Someone found the bankruptcy filing from Lynn Hospitality Supply. Someone else found May's hospital fundraiser from years earlier. People who knew nothing about her wrote as if they had attended the marriage. Gold digger. Upgrade wife. She left one criminal for a bigger one. Lena read 8 comments before throwing her phone across the hospital waiting room. It landed on a chair. Adrian picked it up. Don't. She looked at him. Don't tell me not to read. I was going to say don't break your phone. You need it. Helpful. I try. May was in surgery. Hour 4. The waiting had stripped Lena down to nerves. Adrian sat across from her. His phone had not stopped vibrating. He ignored it. Lena looked at him. Your PR team is going to have a stroke. They'll survive. What's the statement? There isn't one yet. Why? Because I haven't asked what you want. She leaned back. Even now. That was his answer. Lena closed her eyes. I don't want my mother's surgery online. It won't be. I don't want Daniel's name tied to Mom. Okay. I don't want you calling me your wife like it's a title that explains who I am. Adrian was quiet. Then he nodded. Okay. Lena opened her eyes. And I don't want you pretending we aren't married. That is a difficult Venn diagram. Despite herself, she smiled. I know. He leaned forward. What do you want people to know? She thought. That the Gold Room is reviewing a complaint involving misuse of security. That's business. Yes. And us? Lena looked toward the surgery doors. Nothing. Nothing? Our marriage isn't damage control. Adrian nodded. I like that. At 6:30, the surgeon came out. The procedure had gone well. May was stable. Lena cried so hard she could not speak. Adrian did not touch her until she reached for him. The next morning, Gold Room Holdings released a statement. An outside compliance firm was investigating allegations that a manager used venue security to restrict a guest's movement during a personal dispute. The manager had been suspended. All video was preserved. No names. No marriage. No drama. Daniel responded within an hour. Through his attorney, he claimed Adrian Shaw had weaponized a business dispute to retaliate against a man connected to his wife's ongoing personal vendetta. Lena read the sentence twice. Then she called her attorney. File. Her attorney, Priya Nair, paused. File what? The amended civil complaint. We were waiting on the forensic report. We have it. Adrian's team has it. Then subpoena it properly. Priya smiled through the phone. That's my client. Lena did not want Adrian's evidence handed to her as a marital favor. She wanted a chain of custody. A court record. A case that belonged to her. The amended complaint was filed Tuesday morning. Fraud. Breach of fiduciary duty. Misappropriation of trade secrets. Forgery. Daniel's name appeared beside 2 shell companies linked to Mason Red's former organization. The filing did not prove every allegation. But it transformed rumor into procedure. Daniel called Lena 14 times. She did not answer. On the 15th, he left a voicemail. You are making a mistake. Shaw will not protect you forever. Lena saved the message. Not because she was afraid. Because Priya liked evidence. 3 days later, Daniel came to St. Anne. He never reached May's room. Hospital security stopped him in the lobby after Lena had placed a no-visitor notice with his name. He left flowers. Lena told the nurse to donate them. At home that night, Adrian made noodles badly. He owned restaurants. He could not cook. Lena sat at the kitchen island of the townhouse they quietly shared and watched him ruin garlic. You could order food. I am participating. In what? Marriage. Marriage is not a cooking contest. Good. She laughed. It surprised both of them. Adrian put the pan down. Lena looked around. The townhouse was his before it was theirs. He still called it theirs. Not automatically. The first month after they married, he asked before giving her a closet. She laughed at him. He said, I don't know the rules. There aren't rules. That is worse. She moved in slowly. One drawer. Then books. Then a plant. Then the blue mug May bought her. Adrian never pointed out when the space changed. That was how he made room. He did not announce it. He stopped treating space as proof. Lena looked at him now. Why did you marry me? He turned off the stove. Interesting transition. Answer. He leaned against the counter. Because you said yes. Before that. I asked because I loved you. Before that. He thought. The first time? Yes. He smiled faintly. The deposition. Lena groaned. I was sweating through a borrowed blazer. You corrected 3 lawyers. They were wrong. You had just lost your company. My father had. Your father was dead. She went still. Adrian's face softened. I'm sorry. No. Keep going. He did. You had every reason to take the settlement Mason offered. It would have paid your mother's mortgage and your legal fees. It required me to say no trade secrets were taken. Yes. I couldn't. I know. He looked at her. You were terrified and still more interested in what was true than what was convenient. Lena stared at the countertop. Daniel once told her principles were a luxury for people with money. Adrian had met her when she had almost none and admired the same thing Daniel punished. She whispered, I married you because you didn't rush me. Adrian's mouth softened. I know. No. I don't think you do. He waited. Lena looked at him. When you asked me out the first time, I said no. Very clearly. When you asked again 4 months later, I said maybe. Also very clearly. When you proposed, I said I needed 2 weeks. 16 days. You counted? I have calendars. She smiled. He continued. You needed time. And you gave it. That should not be extraordinary. It was to me. They stood in the kitchen with burnt garlic between them. Lena understood something she had been resisting since the hospital call. Accepting help from Adrian would not make him Daniel. But refusing all help because Daniel once controlled her would still let Daniel govern the marriage. Freedom was not doing the opposite of what your abuser trained you to do. Freedom was choosing without him in the room. Lena said, I want to pay off the medical line before interest hits. Adrian nodded. I can help. I know. She took a breath. I want to borrow the 17 from our joint account and repay it over 12 months from my consulting income. He stared. What? Too formal? A little. I need formal. Then we make it formal. No interest. I was going to say no interest. Written schedule. Lena. Written. He held up both hands. Written. She exhaled. Okay. Adrian came around the island. May I kiss you? She smiled. Yes. It was not romantic because of the money. It was romantic because no one pretended money had no power. They kissed anyway. The compliance investigation at the Gold Room finished 2 weeks later. It found Daniel had used 2 security employees to intercept Lena after receiving a tip from a hostess who recognized her. He instructed them to keep her downstairs until I get there. He had also used club cameras on 3 previous occasions to track people involved in personal disputes. Adrian did not fire him personally. The independent board did. That mattered. Daniel's lawyer accused Adrian of hiding behind procedure. Adrian's answer was simple. Procedure is what prevents power from becoming personal. The quote appeared in the business section. Lena cut it out and put it on the refrigerator. Adrian found it. Are you mocking me? Deeply. The criminal case took longer. Federal investigators were still unwinding Mason Red's businesses. Daniel was not charged with organized crime. He had always been careful to stay useful but not central. His vulnerabilities were less glamorous. False invoices. Stolen data. A forged authorization from Lena's father. Tax omissions. The kind of paperwork that destroys men who believe only dramatic crimes matter. Priya called Lena in November. We have the warehouse image. What image? Backup from your father's old server. Lena sat down. The company had hired a technology firm before bankruptcy to salvage corrupted drives. No one realized one backup remained in cold storage. The image showed Daniel's user credentials accessing confidential pricing files and exporting them to a removable drive. Dates matched payments from a consulting company later linked to Red. Lena closed her eyes. For almost 2 years, Daniel told her she was obsessed. That business failed because her father was reckless. That she needed someone to blame. That divorce had made her rewrite history. Evidence did not heal that. But it removed one question. Was I imagining it? No. She called May. Her mother was recovering at home now, walking 10 minutes each morning and criticizing everyone who tried to help her. Mom. You sound strange. They found the backup. Silence. May understood immediately. Your father was right. Lena's eyes filled. Her father died 6 months after the business collapsed. A stroke. Stress, the doctor said. He had spent his final months insisting someone inside the family had leaked the bids. Daniel told Lena grief made her father paranoid. Lena believed Daniel. Not completely. Enough. I should have believed Dad. May's voice hardened. No. Mom. No. Daniel was his son-in-law. Your father trusted him too. But I defended him. Because you were married. I told Dad he was looking for someone to blame. May was quiet. Then she said, your father knew you loved your husband. Lena cried. May continued. He never blamed you for wanting your marriage to be real. That sentence broke the last defense Lena had left. She cried into the phone. Later, Adrian found her on the bedroom floor beside an open storage box. Photographs surrounded her. Her father at the warehouse. Her parents at their 30th anniversary. Lena and Daniel at a company picnic. Adrian sat in the doorway. He did not enter. Can I come in? She nodded. He sat beside her. Lena handed him a photograph. Her father was holding a shipping manifest and laughing. He knew. Adrian looked at the picture. He suspected. I told him he was wrong. You were lied to. I still said it. Adrian did not rescue her from the guilt. He said, I'm sorry. She looked at him. Not it's not your fault. Not don't think like that. Just I'm sorry. Lena leaned into him. They sat among the photographs until midnight. The civil hearing took place in January. Daniel wore a navy suit. Lena wore gray. Adrian sat in the second row behind Priya's team. Not at council table. Not beside Lena. She had asked him to come. She had also asked him not to speak to reporters. He agreed. Daniel's attorney argued that the marriage between Lena and Adrian created a conflict because Adrian's companies later acquired assets formerly associated with Mason Red. Priya stood. My client's current marriage does not retroactively authorize her former husband to steal data. The judge looked unimpressed. The argument died. The warehouse backup was admitted. So were bank transfers. So was a handwritten note from Daniel to a red intermediary listing 3 upcoming vendor bids. Daniel's face changed when he saw it projected. Lena remembered the handwriting. She used to leave notes in his lunch. Love you. Don't forget your dentist appointment. Buy milk. How strange that the same hand could write betrayal so casually. During a recess, Daniel found her alone near the water fountain. Security stood at the far end. He stopped 6 feet away. Lena. She turned. He looked older. Not ruined. Just diminished. No entourage. No club. No borrowed power. You happy now? She almost laughed. That is what you think this is? You got everything. What did I get? Shaw. Lena stared. Daniel continued. The townhouse. Money. Protection. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, You still think the story is about which man I belong to? His face tightened. I didn't say that. You don't have to. I made mistakes. You committed fraud. I helped myself. With my family's business. Your father was sinking it anyway. The old anger rose. Then Lena heard something else. Fear. Daniel had repeated that sentence for years because he needed it. If the company was doomed, stealing became opportunism instead of destruction. If Lena was weak, controlling her became leadership. If Adrian was only richer, Lena's new life proved nothing. Daniel had built a universe where he was never the thing that needed explaining. Lena said, My mother almost lost her house because of you. Daniel looked away. I didn't know Red would push that hard. You took money from him. I thought it was information. That is what trade secrets are. He flinched. Lena continued. You asked me to kneel for surgery money. His face reddened. I was angry. No. She stepped closer. You wanted proof you could still make me smaller. Daniel looked at her. She shook her head. You can't. His voice broke slightly. Is he better than me? Lena almost felt sorry for him. Almost. That is not why I left. Then why? Because I finally understood love should not require me to become less visible. Daniel's eyes dropped. Lena added, Adrian is not the reason I survived you. He looked up. I survived you before I met him. Then she returned to the courtroom. The settlement came 3 weeks later. Daniel agreed to restitution, damages, and a permanent injunction barring him from using Lynn business materials. His former club partnership sued him separately over undisclosed liabilities. The district attorney opened an investigation into the forged authorization. Lena did not attend every hearing. She stopped organizing her life around his consequences. In March, she reopened a business. Not the old one. Lynn Supply had died with her father. She did not want to resurrect a company simply because grief made the past look pure. Instead, she started Northbridge Hospitality Consulting. Small. Practical. Vendor audits. Contract reviews. Compliance systems for independent restaurants and clubs that could not afford full legal teams. Priya became the first referral source. Raymond became the second. Adrian offered office space in one of his buildings. Lena said no. He said okay. She rented 2 rooms above a bakery. The radiator clanged. The internet failed twice the first week. She loved it. On opening day, May arrived with a red envelope and a cane she refused to admit she still needed. Adrian brought coffee. His sister brought flowers. Raymond brought a framed copy of his repaid loan. Lena hung her father's old warehouse key beside her desk. Not because she wanted the company back. Because she wanted to remember that trust required evidence and love required boundaries. At 4 that afternoon, Adrian stood in the doorway. "Can I ask something?" "You usually do." "Are we still keeping the marriage private?" Lena looked at him. For 6 months privacy protected her. Then it became habit. Then fear. Now it felt different. She smiled. "I don't want a press release." "Agreed." "I don't want a feature." "Absolutely." "I don't want people calling me Mrs. Shaw in business meetings. I will personally become unbearable about that." "You already are." "Good." Lena looked at the wedding ring in the top drawer of her desk. She had kept it there since the gold room incident. She took it out. Adrian went still. Lena slid it onto her finger. Not because she owed the world proof. Because today she wanted it there. Adrian's eyes warmed. "Hi." She laughed. "Hi." He touched the chain at his neck. "May I?" Lena nodded. He pulled his own ring free and put it back on his hand. No announcement. No witnesses except May, who saw from across the room and immediately began crying loudly enough to make discretion impossible. "Mom. I had heart surgery. I cry now. That is not medical. It is my diagnosis." Everyone laughed. A reporter eventually found out. Not because Adrian told anyone. Because Lena attended a charity licensing panel and signed in as Lena Lynn, while Adrian sat in the audience wearing a wedding ring and looking at her like subtlety had never been part of his skill set. The article was small. Local consultant is secret wife of River District owner. Lena hated the headline. She liked the photograph. She was standing at the podium speaking. Adrian was blurred in the background. That was the right order. 6 months after the Gold Room confrontation, the club reopened under a new name. Not because of Lena. Because Adrian's consortium decided the Gold Room had too much history tied to Mason Red. The new place was called Harbor House. No private security reporting to managers with personal grudges. Independent incident review. Visible employee hotline. No one could lock camera footage without dual authorization. Lena consulted on the policies. She charged full rate. Adrian paid the invoice. He complained about the amount. She added a late fee. He paid that too. On opening night, Lena stood near the back bar with sparkling water. The hallway where Daniel cornered her had been rebuilt. The steel door was gone. The neon strips were gone. The corridor was wider, brighter, with cameras visible in the corners and 2 open exits. Adrian came beside her. "What do you think?" "It looks less like a place people disappear." That was the architectural brief. Good brief. He handed her a small envelope. She frowned. What is this? Before you assume, not money. Promising. Inside was a photocopy of the Gold Room incident report. The final line read. Guest exited freely at 2:41 a.m. No further contact requested. Below it, Adrian had written. You were right. The important part was that you could leave. Lena stared at it. Her throat tightened. She looked at him. You kept this? I keep embarrassing documents. Apparently. He leaned against the wall. You know Daniel asked me for a meeting last month. Lena's face changed. What did you say? No. That's it? Yes. Why? He wanted to offer information on people from Red's network. That sounds useful. He wanted charges dropped in exchange. You don't control charges. I told him. Lena smiled. And? He seemed offended by government structure. She laughed. Adrian watched her. I also thought you should know. Thank you. He nodded. No secret protection. No deciding what information would upset her. Just information. Choice. They walked toward the main room. Music rose around them. A server carrying champagne passed. Adrian stepped aside to give her space. Lena noticed. Small things. That was what safety became after the dramatic scenes ended. Not a man appearing in a doorway. Not everyone suddenly afraid. Not an ex-husband losing color when he learned who she married. Safety was boring. It was exits that opened. Money discussed before it moved. Evidence handled through court. A husband who asked before touching when she was frightened. A wife who could say no without preparing for punishment. A mother whose surgery bill did not become someone's moral leverage. Lena had once believed power meant never being cornered. Now she understood everyone could be cornered. Power was knowing the corner did not define what happened next. Near midnight, May called. Did you eat? Lena smiled. Yes. What? Food. Lena. Salmon. Vegetables? Adrian whispered, one decorative carrot. Lena slapped his arm. May heard. Is that Adrian? No. I'm on speaker. You are not. You should be. Lena laughed. Adrian leaned closer. Hi, May. Did she eat vegetables? She encountered one. Traitor. The call continued. Normal. Absurd. Precious. Across the room, Harbor House filled with people who knew pieces of the story. Some knew Adrian Shaw's secret wife had once been cornered downstairs. Some knew Daniel Chen lost his position afterward. Some embellished the event until Adrian had apparently threatened 20 armed men with a champagne flute. None of that mattered. The real story was quieter. A woman whose first husband made help feel like debt married a man who had to learn that protecting her did not mean taking over. A man with a frightening reputation discovered the most difficult form of power was restraint. A mother survived surgery. A dead family business gave birth to a new one. And an ex-husband who once said Lena could not last 3 days without him eventually became a case number she no longer checked. At 1 a.m, Lena and Adrian left through the front entrance. Rain had begun. Adrian opened an umbrella. Lena stepped under it. He looked toward the waiting car. Home? She thought about the word. For years, home had meant wherever she was least likely to start a fight. With Daniel, she learned the temperature of every room before speaking. After the divorce, home meant a furnished apartment where no one could question what she bought, who she called, or whether she cried. With Adrian, home had taken longer. One drawer. One key. One plant. One argument about money that did not become punishment. One secret marriage that stayed secret because she asked. One public truth revealed only when she was ready. Home, she said. They walked toward the car. Halfway there, Lena stopped. Adrian looked at her. What? She glanced back at Harbor House. I just remembered something. What? Daniel asked where my husband was. Adrian's mouth moved. Bad night for him. Lena laughed. You said, I'm right here. I did. You know what I thought? What? She looked at him. I thought for the first time in my life, someone powerful had entered a room and made it smaller around me. Adrian's smile disappeared. Lena continued. Then you asked if I wanted to leave. He watched her. And the room opened again. Rain tapped against the umbrella. Adrian's voice softened. I was terrified I'd do it wrong. You did some of it wrong. Comforting. You almost told your people to trace Raymond's leak yourself. I corrected. You did. He looked at her. Still correcting. Lena nodded. Me too. They reached the car. Adrian opened the door. Lena did not get in immediately. She turned and kissed him. Not because he saved her. He had not. Not because he was more feared than Daniel. That had never been the point. She kissed him because when the door opened in that neon hallway and everyone looked to see which man would control what happened next, Adrian had looked at her. And asked. That question had given her something revenge never could. Her own life back. Months later, when North Bridge Consulting expanded into a third office, Lena hired 2 former Gold Room employees. One was the hostess who had accidentally let Daniel know she was in the building. Her name was Tasha. At the interview, Tasha looked terrified. I know what happened. Lena closed the resume. Tell me. I saw your name on the employee entrance log. Daniel asked if you'd come through. And you told him? Yes. Why? He was my manager. Lena waited. Tasha's eyes filled. He said I could lose shifts if I kept information from him. Why didn't you report that? To who? The question was familiar. The Gold Room had technically possessed complaint channels. Everyone knew complaints returned to management. A system could exist on paper and still function as a warning. Lena looked at Tasha. Why do you want to work here? Because Harbor House changed after that night. That was not all because of me. I know. Tasha swallowed. But you made them write down what managers were allowed to ask employees to do. Lena leaned back. Rules. Written boundaries. Again. She hired Tasha. Not from pity. She was qualified. That distinction mattered. At the end of Tasha's first month, she came into Lena's office holding a complaint form. Lena's body tensed. Then Tasha said, the new vendor keeps asking staff for phone numbers. Lena took the form. Okay. Tasha waited. Lena looked up. What? That's it? What did you expect? I don't know. Lena smiled faintly. Probably too much. She processed the complaint. The vendor was warned. Then replaced when it happened again. No retaliation. No whispers. No hidden cost. Tasha stayed. The first-year anniversary of May's surgery arrived quietly. They ate dinner at a small Chinese restaurant May loved because the owner never let Adrian pay for extra dumplings. May raised tea. To my defective heart. Mom, Lena said. It brought everyone together. That is not how medicine works. Adrian lifted his cup to the heart. May pointed at him. You encourage me. Constantly. After dinner, May gave Lena a small box. Inside was her father's warehouse key. The original. Not the copy Lena had framed. I found it in the sewing cabinet, May said. Lena stared. Her father had carried that key for 27 years. Daniel wore it briefly while managing the warehouse. After the collapse, everyone thought it was lost. Lena held it. Why the sewing cabinet? Your father hid everything badly. She laughed through tears. May touched her hand. You do not have to keep every old thing. I know. What will you do with it? Lena thought. The old company no longer existed. The warehouse had been sold. The lock it opened was probably gone. The key had no function. Only history. She looked at Adrian. He did not offer an answer. Good. Lena put the key back in the box. I'll keep it. May nodded. For now. For now. That night, Lena placed the key in the same drawer as the Gold Room incident report. 2 objects from 2 lives. One from a door she could no longer open. One from a hallway where she learned she could leave. Neither controlled her. They were records. Nothing more. 2 years after the Underground Club incident, Lena spoke at a small business conference about vendor fraud. The moderator introduced her as founder of North Bridge Hospitality Consulting. No mention of Adrian. No mention of Daniel. No secret wife story. Just work. She spoke for 40 minutes. Afterward, a young woman approached. My boyfriend works with me, she said. He handles all the passwords because he says he's better with numbers. Lena felt the past stir. She did not tell the woman to leave him. She did not turn one detail into a diagnosis. She asked, do you have your own access? The woman hesitated. No. Start there. The woman nodded. Lena added, trust is not the same as surrendering visibility. The sentence stayed with her. That evening, Adrian met her outside the conference center. He held 2 coffees. How was it? Good. Did you terrify accountants? Only the dishonest ones. Excellent. They walked. No bodyguards close enough to hear. No hidden hallway. No men to impress. Adrian said, I have dinner with city licensing tomorrow. Fun. Terrible. You chose your life. So did you. Lena smiled. Yes. She had. That was the ending Daniel never imagined. Not that she married someone more powerful. Not that he lost his club job. Not that Adrian once stepped from a private room and turned a hallway silent. Daniel's real defeat was simpler. Lena built a life in which his opinion had no job. He became history. Useful only when she needed to remember what she would never trade away again. Her name. Her work. Her choices. Her ability to say no. Her ability to say yes. And the knowledge that love, when it was real, did not ask her to kneel before it.